To the United Nations in New York now, where governments and representatives are attending the 59th session of the Commission on the Status of Women. They've adopted a political declaration to accelerate action on women's empowerment and gender and equality. Governments have pledged to take concrete action and efforts through 6 specific strategies. They've also highlighted UN Women's role as a central theme in rallying countries to the cause. Sherwin Bryce-Pease is there, and he joins us now from our UN Bureau. Sherwin, a political declaration, what specifically does it say?
Well, Peter, we've been talking a lot about the uneven progress that we've had on women's empowerment and gender equity since the Beijing Declaration was adopted in 1995. We've had progress in terms of women's access to education, women's access to reproductive health, maternal health, and so on. But there have been failures in terms of the implementation of this platform. So what they got yesterday was a coalescence around a new strategy so as to plug those gaps so that come 2020, come the new deadline of the SDGs in 2030, we can talk about gender equity, we can talk about a 50-50 balance in the classroom, in the boardroom and in government. And there's 6 specific things they want governments to look at, to do more to strengthen the implementation of laws. We've spoken from this platform about the need for the laws that exist on the books of national governments to be implemented, to be enforced, and for consequences when they are not implemented. Bolster institutions vital to women's empowerment, support civil society, human rights groups and the like. Transform discriminatory norms and stereotypes, traditions, customary traditions that, female gender mutilation, forced marriages, those need to be stamped out, and to close resource gaps. I mean, women's ministries, Peter, for example, are the worst funded ministries in many governments around the world. Boost accountability and enhance capacities and data collection. Data is crucial to meeting any of the new SDGs, as they have been with the MDGs, which expire in September.
All right, and there's also a number of high-profile events today, including some high-profile speakers. What can we expect?
Well, as much as we talk about a lack of progress, there has been progress when it comes to the question of women's rights around the world. And there will be a celebration tonight. The keynote speakers, among them Hillary Rodham Clinton, who famously, as First Lady of the United States in 1995, spoke at that very Beijing conference where she spoke about women's rights being human rights and human rights being women's rights, and that's it. So she will certainly be paying tribute to the progress that we've seen over the last 20 years. Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, embroiled, of course, in the Ebola controversy in West Africa. She, of course, being the first female African head of state. She will come and talk. Jill Scott will perform. Patricia Arquette, who recently won the Best Actress Award at the Oscars in Los Angeles. Remember, after getting her Oscar, she famously said that it was time for women actors to be paid what their male counterparts get. So certainly something to look forward to later tonight here in New York.
You mentioned a few politicians there. Now, the Inter-Parliamentary Union, we understand, has released a ranking of countries with the highest number of women parliamentarians. Which countries are leading the way?
Rwanda from Africa. Africa's right at the top. Rwanda has 51 out of 80 parliamentarians that are women. That's an astounding 63.8%. Bolivia is second, Andorra, Cuba. I mean, countries you wouldn't really expect to be leading the way. The Seychelles is second in Africa. South Africa has dropped 5 places. They were originally 5th. They're down to 10, so sneaking into the top 10. I mean, it's really interesting data to look at. The United States, only 19.3% of members of Congress are women. The Solomon Islands, I mean, the Secretary General yesterday speaking about 4 countries where there are no women in Parliament, and 8 countries where no women show up in the cabinets of those governments. Kuwait has 1 woman in Parliament. Oman, 1 woman. Yemen, 1. Tonga, not a single woman in Parliament. And I think the broad point is here that study after UN study is showing us that when we place women in positions of power, women in boardrooms, as CEOs, at the negotiating table when it comes to peace talks, we get different results. And so it's bad for business and it's bad for politics when we don't place women in positions of power.
All right, Sherwin, we're going to have to leave it there. That's Sherwin Bryce-Pease speaking to us from our bureau in New York.